in such short notice. I'd like to begin the conference by first introducing the folks that are sitting here today. And we'll let them introduce themselves, starting from my left. Cam.
Hafaday, thank you guys for coming today. My name is Cam Lorenzo.
Paul Mendiola, National Sports Director for Special Olympics Guam.
Laura Tesovic, Carol Piercy, Board Member.
Jerry Leon Guerrero, Director of Communications.
Marie Benito, Finance Director.
David Christopher, Nicholas, Board Member.
It is with a heavy heart that I must inform our island community that after much discussion amongst the board last night for Special Olympics Guam organization, it has been decided to cancel this year's track and field event that was scheduled for this Saturday, March 14, 2020, at the campus of the Ukadu High School. The cancellation of the 44th Special Olympics track and field event was based on the abundance of caution and concerns our island faced with COVID-19. Canceling this year's event was not easy, but in reaching our decision, we felt it's the right and only option for the good and protection of our athletes, their families, volunteers, sponsors, and our island community. Special Olympics Guam is an organization whom have met our mission goals of providing over 4 decades of year-round sports training and athletic competition in a variety of Olympic-type sports for children and adults with intellectual and physical disabilities, giving our athletes continued opportunities to develop physical fitness, demonstrate courage, experience joy, and participating in sharing the gifts, skills, and friendship with their families, other Special Olympic athletes, and our island community. Special Olympics Guam's mission remains as vital today as it did when the movement began on Guam in 1976. We will continue coaching and preparing our athletes for the remainder of our 5 other sporting events we offer throughout 2020. Our second quarter sport will be softball and swimming. Our third quarter sport will be badminton and bowling, and then rounding off the year with soccer. I would like to thank these folks sitting here today. They are the ones that have made our events happen, our island community, the administration, government of Guam agencies that have helped us, the 35th Guam legislature, our military brothers and sisters and their families, our business communities, our media, and above all, our island community for always providing our organization the support we need to make our games a success. And now I'd like to turn over the mic to our chairman, Cam Lorenzo.
Thank you, Frank. Thank you guys for coming. I'd like to just touch base on our sponsors. We have sponsors that help us year in and year out throughout the year. And this track and field event is our signature event. And this year we had so many sponsors that helped us plan to make this event successful. And we owe it to these sponsors for this particular event a gratitude and thank you for supporting us. But unfortunately, due to what Frank said, the COVID-19 is very serious, and we're all about promoting safety and public health to our community. So therefore, I'd just like to mention a couple of our sponsors that were supporting us on the track and field event that was supposed to happen this Saturday. And I start off with ICANN Resources, Ambrose, American Bakery, Triple J Enterprise, Fastenal, Frontier International Distributors Inc., Barrett Plumbing, Matson, McDonald's of Guam, Payless, Pepsi, Sunny Plastics, Cautionless, Wendy's, Mr. Ernie Muña, and Knights of Columbus. Guys, we really thank you. Our athletes are truly appreciated of everything you've given to us and will continue giving us, and we thank you for your support for the years past and the years moving forward. Thank you very much. I'd like to pass it on to our sports director, Paul Mendiola.
Thank you again for coming. I want to do a special thank you to the coaches, the schools, the athletes. For those who don't know, they spent 9 weeks preparing, training for this event. Unfortunately, we had to cancel it, but their efforts are not in vain. Our athletes still had an opportunity to develop themselves both physically and mentally during these exercises or during these practices. As Frank mentioned, we are going to continue with our other 5 events throughout the year. And those events are, although smaller than the track and field event, they're still just as important. So again, thank you for you guys being here and helping us get the word out about this unfortunate news. And Jerry?
I just want to kind of just read off of what I have put together on the press release, which is, our organization is about respect, dignity, and consistency, providing a healthy, happy, safe, and inclusive environment, not only for our athletes, but also for our volunteers, our sponsors, family of our athletes, and our island community. Our revolution of inclusion is a mindset, movement, and goal for everyone to open their hearts and commit to working towards our island where everyone is included. Our athletes are not just athletes, but ambassadors of an uprising, peaceful protesters whose lives are always challenged by their disabilities. Our athletes strive for equality, dignity, recognition into our community. So once again, I would like to also represent and thank on behalf of all the athletes who have worked for 9 weeks. And I would like to end it by saying that before every event, we always say it's an oath. It's an oath of athletes, not only for the athletes, but for all of us. It's let me win, but if I cannot win, let me be brave in the attempt.
And with that, I'd like to finally have Marie Benito, our finance director, say a few words. Because other than the in-kind donations we get, we also get monetary donations throughout the year. And that is what drives us into making these games very possible, because we've got expenses such as medals, certificates, and so forth. So Marie, if you can please wrap this up.
Yes, thank you, Frank. Half a day. And you know, when we talk about canceling this event, we'd like to also tell the public that this didn't come, it was a very difficult decision to make, and it was a struggle. So it took us 2 hours to make that decision because of all the work that we put in, the athletes training, we took all that into consideration. And there's also, you know, the case of the unknown. Right now we don't know any known cases on Guam, but again, are we prepared? Do we really know the answers? So the possibility is still out there, and that's what we wanted to consider, is that possibility. And with a crowd like that and our athletes, it's our responsibility to make sure that they're safe and we take care of them. And with that, we make that difficult decision. And like every event, we of course thank our sponsor, and we'd like to briefly thank our sponsors, our generous donors, for continuing to support Special Olympics. And I'd like to name them. They are the Guam Football Association, JFK Class of 1974, Paradise Fitness Center, Bank of Guam, First Hawaiian Bank, ITNE, South Pacific Petroleum, Circle 76, Tommy Hilfiger, Addis Trust, Infratech, ITC, GTA, Matson, Guam Reef Hotel, Aztec, and Wyndham Hotels. Without the support of the community, the corporate, the individuals, we wouldn't be successful. And every year, we have successful events because of them. And we appreciate them. Thank you.
You know, with that, we'll close this press conference, and we'll go ahead and leave it open for any questions if any of you may have. Yes, Jojo?
Has any Special Olympics event in the past ever been canceled? Has any?
It has once since that I can remember, and that was maybe about 10 years ago. And we canceled the track primarily because we didn't have the resources to actually move forward with providing a good, solid game. And at that time, that was the rebuilding stage of Special Olympics.
Is that still when it was JP or?
Yes.
At the time, it was at JFK, that's correct. Yes, sir.
What do you do with all the money that was given to you for this event, if you're not having the event?
We have other events. People don't give us money specifically for track and field. What they do is they donate money to us throughout the year, and we use that to run our 6 programs.
When is the second quarter's event scheduled for?
If I'm not mistaken, the practice for softball begins the week after the Lenten season. And swimming, that's still at a standstill. We're trying to find, a venue to have it at. We normally have it down at the Agania Pool. And we're hopeful that the military, we've spoken to them, but their considerations, security considerations going to and from. So we'll see. That again may need to be canceled. We're hoping it won't, but the realities are we currently don't have a pool to have them practice on or compete on.
Before you guys came to the decision to officially cancel the event, was there any talks to, I guess, the athletes and schools to prepare for the possibility of the event cancellation? I know this is a huge event, a lot of people prepare, especially the schools and the teachers and the coaches, they prepare for the event. Were they aware that this was a possibility before you guys came to the decision?
I think everybody felt that there was that possibility. We didn't come out and say that there was a possibility simply because the mindset we originally had was that if there were no known cases on Guam up until March 13th, we were going to go ahead and move forward. It was just this week that we started getting calls from some parents, sponsors, schools that were concerned about this. And that is why we met and we decided on it. And we thought that we couldn't give guarantees to anybody. And I think at this point, even our medical community is not even fully aware of the impact that COVID would have on the island. So we thought that being responsible, we should just cancel this event. And it's a huge event. We were expecting 2,500 to 3,000 people. And controlling 2,500 to 3,000 people is a lot harder than controlling, say, badminton, where everybody's in a gymnasium. And we're looking at maybe a couple of hundred. So that was what prompted it. And believe me, it wasn't hard. We spent 2 hours of looking at the pros and cons. Everybody had an opinion. And there was a point in time where we actually started to argue amongst ourselves that maybe we were jumping the gun. But when we sat down and we looked at what's going around us, what's going around the countries close to us, the realities are it's there. And it's not a matter of is it ever going to come here? It's just a matter of when and how quickly can it be identified. So we just wanted to become responsible people here, and our organization is very responsible. We put the priorities of the safety of all our athletes, volunteers, and people that attend the functions first and foremost. And at this juncture, that was the correct thing to do.
Question. I know that this event also brings in huge community support, a lot of volunteers you guys get. What information can you give about people who are maybe trying to volunteer for this event, but since it's canceled, how other ways can they get involved? Or, is there going to be a platform or a mapping of how these volunteers can, who were hoping to get involved this Saturday, still get involved in Special Olympics?
Yes. So we, again, our volunteers can reach out to us via social media on our Facebook and our Instagram, and email us too as well. But we have our upcoming events that are happening. Our softball, we're still planning on swimming. We still have bowling, badminton, and soccer. And so we're always looking for coaches, volunteers, assistants, marshals for those particular events, umpires, referees. And so, they can always reach out to us and inquire. we'll be more than happy. We are definitely gonna reach out to all the volunteers and the military personnel and the schools that have come forward to help us during this event. Again, we're gonna find out with them if they want to continue to volunteer, and then bring forth the list of events that are coming up.
And that's a good question,
And-
because volunteers are a big part of our program, and we have hundreds of volunteers. So, there's people that are going to be disappointed because of this cancellation, but also some that might be relieved because of the cancellation. So, our volunteers are very good, and yes, we have all those means for reaching out to us.
Yes, sir.
Which volunteer gets to tell the athletes that there's no track and field event?
Which volunteer? I will, I will tell you, we do it collectively as a group, but the person on the front line is gonna be Paul, our national sports director, and he's gonna do that through informing the coaches, and the coaches are then gonna advise the athletes. And like Paul said, it's really nothing lost, because they spent the last 9 weeks training, getting in shape, and we'll move them right into softball. And whenever you get off the couch, right, and you start to exercise, that's always a plus, regardless of whether the end game is a competition or the end game is just getting in shape. And I think more importantly is that they continue to develop life skills of learning how to work with different teammates, different players, different officials, and more importantly, different coaches. So,
How many athletes were we expecting this?
We're expecting close to 300 athletes, various ages, to compete in the track and field. As far as your question about dissemination of information to our point of contact, I have a list of all those.
And 300 athletes expected. How many did we get last year?
Last year we got just a little over, if I'm not mistaken, a little over 300.
357, I believe it was last year. And there were several schools this year that couldn't find coaching, because their coachings are generally done during school hours. And if there's anyone in this group that can tell you how the athletes would feel, I would like to turn that over to Carol, because Carol coaches one of the larger teams we have. Carol?
Yeah, I'm not looking forward to this. Chris is one of my athletes, and that was a hard sell, even though he's a board member, and he's used to us having to make tough decisions. But he was in agreement with me that, and what the other board members have said, that we will look at this as a celebration. My Gatsun team has a victory party at the end of track season, and so we're going to go ahead with our victory party, and we're going to celebrate how much fun we've had this last 9 weeks, and each individual has made growth throughout. We just celebrated our relay team last Saturday, had the fastest time they've ever had, so we're going to celebrate those accomplishments that each of the athletes have gone through. It is going to be a sad thing for a lot of our athletes. They look forward to that, but hopefully I can help them through that, and the other coaches will, work with them and take a positive look at it. Yeah, a positive look. And to help them move on and say, okay, well, next, like these guys were saying, we've got more sports. Let's look out. Let's see what else we can do. All right, and hopefully that works. But yeah, it's going to be tough. Probably tougher for me than the athletes.
And I think in the spirit of Special Olympics Guam and the games and the competition, I think that just getting involved with Special Olympics, whether we go the full gamut of having an event, is that at the end of the day, or at the end of the sport event, and with track and field, it ends today, we all walk away. I think the athletes, the coaches, the parents will walk away winners, and so will the organizers. And I truly believe that, simply because, again, we're putting their safety first, and that's paramount to any other course of action we would take. So that being said, we want to thank you for coming at such short notice and answering JoJo's question even further. Is you guys are also going to be responsible for helping to get the word out, and we thank you for that.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks.